Brennan!
After 7 months of basketball, the 1993 NBL Grand Final is upon us, and what a classical showdown it promises to be. It's East versus West, with the Melbourne Tigers taking on Perth Wildcats in the best-of-3 series to determine the champion team. Today, it's Game 1 on the Tigers' home court, Flinders Park. The dynamic duo Gaze and Copeland have promised to deliver.
Gaze alley-oop to Copeland!
But the Wildcat Wall has other ideas. A sellout crowd is waiting, and the locals want some Wildcat blood. The battle is about to begin, right here on Network 10. So sit back and enjoy the game, the first of the series, with Steve Quartermain and John Gardner, your commentators.
Sellout crowd, more than 15,000. And we're away in Game 1 of the 1993 Grand Final Series. Well, we were away.
Little false start. Eddie Crouch, Bill Mildenhall out there along with Robbie Barnett. Stephen, Eddie Crouch refereeing in his 14th consecutive series. That's got to be something of a record.
Yeah, fantastic effort. Fisher, first shot of the match. Rebound Bradkey, quickly to Gaze. Tigers going to the right of your screen. Gaze for 3. Yes, sir.
Well, that's the sort of start that the Tigers wanted. That emotional crowd surging for them. Both clubs have shot very well from the three-point line so far in the playoffs.
There's Grace. Copeland snapping at his heels. Pass to Vlahov. He misses. Another rebound to Bradkey. Now Simmons. There's Gaze. Back to Simmons. Simmons for 2. And we'll credit those points to Simmons, and it's 5-zip. Tigers lead the Wildcats.
Well, Simmons got the ball on the outlet of the transition, got it back and did what he had to do. He also comes up with the first foul of the match.
Yeah, they've been tough on that all year, the referees.
It'll be interesting, Stephen, just to see how the officials take control of this first quarter, because I think that could have a big outcome on with the game as well, because in the playoff series in the West recently we saw 3 fouls on Moore and Colbert that really sentenced a lot of problems for them.
Gaze, behind the back pass to Sibley. Back to Gaze, thought about the 3, changed his mind. Now Copeland. Throwing the ball around the Tigers. Bradkey has travelled.
Yeah, I think you'll see that match up most of the evening with Crawford on Bradkey. Bradkey will try and go at Crawford, but I suspect the game plan from the Wildcats will be to have help from Fisher and Vlahov.
Vlahov to Fisher. Fisher off the board, won't go. Another missed shot for the Wildcats. Now Copeland, quickly to Sibley. Excellent pass. He misses what he should have made. Good defensive work from Fisher. Now Grace, weaves his way through. Magical 2 points for Ricky Grace.
Cannot let the man go on that left hand. He's far too volatile to allow that to happen. Copeland will have to sharpen up on that.
Sibley. Simmons to Bradkey. Reels it in. Can't put it in for 2. Rebound Crawford.
It's got to be a very tentative start so far. That's a better transition from the Wildcats. Little pass there from Vlahov. Found Torrance for a nice lay-in.
5-4, Tigers lead. Copeland fouls on Grace.
Good move by Copeland. Posted up on Grace where he has a great height advantage. Took the bump. Grace reached out with the hands. Comes up with his first foul. That's the first team foul for both clubs. One on Simmons, one on Grace.
So Leonard Copeland at the line. Averaging 31 points during the final series. really has lifted a notch. Was in serious doubt early in the week with a back injury, but he has made a good recovery. The physiotherapist tells me he's 95% right, which is not bad.
It's fairly close to his shooting percentage from the foul line. He's 92 in the playoffs against a regular season of 78, so he knows where to score from in the playoff series.
Tigers by 3. There's Grace, Crawford. Up goes the shot under pressure. Another big rebound, this time to Bradke. Now Gaze. Sibley.
Little pick and roll being set up. Gaze across Simmons. Torrance fights across. A late call from Mildenhall. Hand foul on Torrance. Side ball to the Tigers. What do you think, Dean Templeton? Fairly quiet, fairly tentative. You're fairly close to the Tigers bench.
Not as aggressive a start as I thought, John. The Tigers are very patient down this end and they're prepared to kick that ball around a little, which I think is a good ploy so early in the game.
Mike Ellis.
I'd have to agree with Dean. The Tigers are doing that well. At least the Wildcats didn't get rattled with that great start the Tigers had, so they've settled in nicely as well.
Yeah, nice shot by Sibley. Sibley's another key out there, Stephen. If he takes the shot when it's open, Tigers look so much better. But if there's a travel called on Fisher, intimidated by the defence. And of course, the violation of the travel cancels out what was expected to be a foul by most of this 15,000 strong crowd.
So 9-4, Melbourne leads Perth. Game 1 of the best of 3 grand final series. Gaze to Sibley. And Sibley's found himself free a couple of times and made the most of it.
Excellent start, Stephen. I think that's one of the keys. We were talking about it prior to the game. If Sibley has the courage to take those shots, and what's more, makes them, it opens up the court for the more fancied offensive players.
Fouls on Simmons.
Yeah, I think it's his second, Stephen. He got one very early in the game. That's his second foul on the drive, and I think Crawford will go at him. You can see that in replay out there. Simmons came across. Simmons does a lot of the tough work. The danger, of course, is that during the playoff, the Tigers have tended to go more to their first 5, and Simmons is a very important role player out there. Has 2 fouls very early.
What a player James Crawford has been over many, many years. 338 games of basketball, career average of just over 25 points per game.
He'd be happy to see those drop too. He had a little horrendous stage on the foul line against Brisbane. Seems to have overcome that, and there's a good defensive effort for him at the other end of the floor. Now
Vlahoff with the basketball.
This is the dangerous part, Stephen, I think, for the Tigers, because the transition on offense that the Wildcats could put is very, very hard to contain. But is this nerves? There's another travel. Little violation there by Crawford, and he's cocked up possession. What are the turnover rates for both clubs out there? Looks to me is it's 2. Yeah, it's 2 apiece.
Gaze shoots over the top of Torrance. Simmons does very well to tap it back to Gaze. Tigers get another 30 seconds on the shot clock.
Both clubs matching up man-to-man for all of this quarter so far. We're almost halfway through it, so it's a straight man-to-man match-up game as Gaze tries to find Simmons underneath with what would have been an excellent dish, but the defence was just there to put it off the hands. Still tentative, Stephen, isn't it? You know, 11 plays 6, 7.5 minutes to go in the first quarter.
The grand finals are rarely pretty, are they?
No, they're fairly ugly. As a matter of fact, in the first quarter is usually indicative of that.
Fisher. Back outside to Torrance for 3. Rebound Simmons. Quickly to Gaze, but Torrance gets back. Simmons the screen. Gaze shoots for 3.
Excellent start from Andrew Gaze out there. He's found the bucket from range. 6 points for Andrew Gaze. More importantly, I believe the biggest stat out there is you see another turnover that goes against the Wildcats captain is the rebound count. 7 for the Melbourne Tigers, 2 only for the Wildcats.
Gaze back to Bradke to Copeland for 3. Oh, big rebound from Bradke. Back outside to Gaze, a mile out for 3. And he drops another one. He's up to 9. What a start for the Australian champion.
Well, all of those points have come from the three-point line as well. He's 100% from beyond the arc.
Now Vlahoff tries to respond. Torrance tries to dip it in. He can't. There's not much you can do about that last three, John. Who's that far out?
He's miles out too. And that's the danger of the man out there. 100% from the three-point line. You must be out on him all of the time. Certainly the Tigers have had the best of this first quarter.
Time out here at Flinders Park. It's the Tigers off to a great start. They lead the Wildcats 17-6. Halfway mark of the first quarter here at Flinders Park. Grand final, game one, and it's the Tigers 17, Wildcats 6. Mike Ellis.
Well, Adrian Hurley, no sign of panic whatsoever. He said, we knew this was going to happen. That's what would happen. We just have to weather the storm, take our time and relax. We want more people going to the offensive glass.
Dean Templeton.
Well, quite obviously, Lindsay Gay's coach of the Tigers is very happy with the way his ball club's going at the moment. He's a little concerned about the defence and how Fisher and Grace are isolating, as we see Grace go for three, miss again, but very happy with the way his team's been rebounding.
Crawford off the board, yes.
Well, good consolidation by Crawford after that timeout. 17-6 now makes it 17-8 in favour of the Melbourne Tigers. And of course, if you look at the stats early in the match, you'd have to say that the shooting percentage of the Wildcats is abysmal, 25% to the Wildcats, and a very good 60% clip from the Tigers, hence their good lead.
Crawford misses the dunk. Now Copeland. 3-on-2 for the Tigers, and Fisher gets called for, is it a push or a block?
Well, either way it'll go against Fisher, and it was almost a delayed call out there. I think the officials were waiting to see if there was a disadvantage caused by the contact, and once they had judged that that had happened, of course the foul went against Fisher.
Simmons turns the ball over. Good defensive work again from the Wildcats. Now Vlahov to Grace.
Ricky Grace running the transition from the point roll for the Wildcats, but their half-court offense is fairly stagnant. They need a lot more transition to get back in this game.
Simmons for two. Now a chance for the Wildcats again. Grace. Oh, and he's doing some damage now as Ricky Grace.
And they're getting all their shots through the transition, Stephen. And I think this is the thing that Lindsay Gaze was most fearful of, the quick transition, because even if you score against the Wildcats during the regular season, they're very quick to get the ball back in, and they want to get the 2 points back on the board.
So it's back to just 5 points the difference. Good fight back by the Wildcats. Copeland. Oh, Gay somehow got the ball back for Melbourne. Now Copeland again.
Well, did then what he should have done a moment ago, and of course the offensive rebounding and the ability to keep the ball alive from the Tigers must be a real worry for the Wildcats. They're really getting a bit of a pummeling on the offensive boards out there.
It's the Tigers by 7. Just over 4 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Good pass from Grace to Fisher. Now another chance for the Wildcat, and he puts it in this time.
Tentative nerves out there from Fisher, a seasoned campaigner, missed the first one, did a little better. I suspect this game will settle down fairly quickly, Dean, after the initial nerves.
Yeah, I think the Wildcats are starting to look a lot better, John. They're starting to force the Tigers to take some very early shots in their offense and some individual type of shots. And there we see yet another turnover, and that'll be a foul on Simmons as well.
Third, Dean, on Simmons very early in the game. That has to be a worry.
Yeah, well, it has to be. He's the enforcer. He's the big bruiser out there for the Tigers. The substitutions are coming in for both teams.
Well, it's an important foul for both clubs out there. As we expected, Simmons sits down and Whitehead comes in, and of course that makes a change to the defensive roster out there. Immediately we see Bradkey going to Fisher, Sibley on Catalini, who has come in for the Wildcats. Whitehead is matched up against on Andrew Vlahov. It'll be interesting to see whether the Wildcats can pick that and go inside.
Watterson also on for the Wildcats. Crawford. Oh, great move by Grace, and a foul on Copeland.
Double jeopardy, isn't it? Of course, Copeland wasn't happy. It may have been a little soft, but it is a grand final series, and the referees will be very keen to pick any sort of foul out there. And what they've adjudged there is there's a little flick from Copeland whilst in the act of shooting, and of course that sends Ricky Grace to the foul line for the bonus.
He's doing some damage, isn't he, Grace?
19-16, what was it at the 6-minute mark?
11 points of difference.
17-6, yep.
And Grace is up to 9. And Gaze has 9 for the Tigers. So it's 19 points to 17. Tigers lead by 2. Excellent fight back by the Perth Wildcats.
It's interesting, Stephen, that both clubs are blessed with some good streak shooters. It was Gaze that hit those 3 3-pointers and set them alight and gave them that little mini break. And now, of course, it's been Ricky Grace at the other end that's come back with 9 points. Eric Watterson with his first foul of the match. He is now matched up on Andrew Gaze, and Eric is giving away a lot of height and a little bit of talent, I should imagine, out there. So Eric will be very keen to get out and bang hard against Gaze. Otherwise, that's what will happen. What's that, Stephen? His fourth?
Now Whitehead, he's also a 3-point specialist, goes to Sibley. Sibley kicks it back outside. Gaze thought about it. Now to Whitehead.
Well, you could see the danger signs.
His eyes lit up, didn't they? Now Copeland.
Copeland is not a good inside shooter throughout the series. He's really ignited the Tigers from the 3-point line.
Race again. Oh, another cheap foul on Leonard
Second
Copeland.
on Leonard Copeland. And this is where the emotion... Yep, you're right, Stephen. It's the emotion and the involvement in this personal duel that's been touted all throughout the year. That can hurt them so much, the Tigers.
And a double substitution for Melbourne. The 2 Gs, Giddy and Gordon, come in, and Sibley and Copeland sit down.
It's interesting, Stephen, that Ray Gordon is the 8th player on the roster, I guess, for the Tigers, and that indicates to me that they are deeper than ever before this year. But it also is a matter of how much you use your bench. And in the playoff series, the Tigers haven't necessarily used their bench as quickly or as early as they have now, and that's been forced on them by fouls.
Grace wins the ball back for Perth. And there will be a Wildcat ball from the sideline as Torrens comes back in, and Grace sits down for a rest. And what a job Ricky Grace has done. 9 points so far. Yeah,
Ricky Grace has done a mental job out there, and he's got about 3 assists to go with that.
Catalini with the ball for the Wildcats. There's Davis also into the game. So both teams ringing the changes.
Yeah, what impresses me about Adrian Hurley's coaching after game 1 against Brisbane is the way he has brought his bench into the game very, very quickly into the game, and I think he's got the benefit through that.
Foul on Bradkey, his first personal foul.
Any signs of panic down there, Dean Templeton? I know it's very early to be talking in those terms, but they've had to make a few early changes, the Tigers, and they've lost the advantage they had with that quick early lead.
Well, I think already we can see the effect that Ricky Grace has on this game. You guys have been talking about his stats. He just looks like he's got about 5 yards over anybody on the court, and Lindsay Case is going to be battling to find someone who can keep up with him.
Yeah. Stephen, during the week at practice, Ricky Grace made a couple of two-handed jams that they haven't seen him do for well over 12 months since he had that ankle problem. That not only indicated his physical fitness, but his ability and his mental preparedness for this series.
Whitehead knocks down another 3 for the Tigers. They are now 4 from 5.
Yep, 80% from the 3-point line. That's tremendous strength, isn't it, of course, out there. And we know that Whitehead is a specialist. He was the instrument of taking away the game from the Wildcats in the quarterfinals last year on this court.
In fact, you can make that 5 from 6 now at the 3-point line. 83%, and Perth are none from 4 at the 3-point arc so far.
It's a funny game, isn't it? We saw Perth just recently ring in 9 from 9 from the 3-point line, and they've gone cold.
Interesting you're talking about Grace. He and Copeland go a long, long way back to college, and
back to college games.
It's a very, very healthy rivalry.
It is, Stephen. It's one of the great things about basketball, that in a team sport you can have great individual matchups that can carry on, as you rightfully say, for years.
So it's 25-20. Tigers lead by 5. They did lead by 11 in this first quarter. Giddy with the basketball for the Tigers. There's Whitehead. Oh, he's looking dangerous.
Yeah, he's saved his best for the playoffs in the grand final. We watched him last year against the Perth Wildcats. He came of age, and that was the talk around the town. Been down in minutes this year, in playing minutes, almost half of what he was playing in the regular season. He hasn't been seeing a lot of minutes in the playoffs, but he's certainly come out here and demanded more time with those couple of shots.
Well, during the playoffs this year, he's only been averaging 4 points, and he's ahead of that already. So it's Melbourne by 7. Just over a minute left in the first quarter. Watterson. Here's Crawford. Back to Watterson for 3. Another chance for Perth. Torrance. Catalini. Big block from Bradkey.
Yeah, Bradkey intimidated the rookie there.
Now Gaze to Bradkey. Picks his moment. Oh, and someone got a push.
I suspect we'll have to wait for it. We're a little bit unsighted. Looks like Ricky Grace, number 15. Little push off. That's his second foul. Andrew Blahoff comes back in. Catalini sits down. See on replay on the weak side. You can see added a little bit to it, as players are wont to do. But the referee was in good position and made the call.
I think you're being very generous, John. Andrew made sure the referee saw that. It really was a bit unfortunate for Ricky, but good play by Andrew Gaze.
And there's a rare sight.
It is a rare sight too. Andrew Gaze, so very, very reliable from the foul line out there. 86% during the regular season, 84% in playoffs. Great statement between Grace and James Crawford with a pick and roll and a good jam.
Tigers by 6. Whitehead down the middle. Oh, sensational block from Crawford.
Crawford has been so instrumental in coming out with those blocks, and he really saved the Wildcats and got them through.
Who will ever forget that one against the Giants?
North Melbourne, gee whiz. And North Melbourne was so unlucky in that circumstance. They had played so well. It was only the athleticism of Crawford that allowed the Wildcats to live and play another day.
Well, if they win this championship, he should expect a big bonus in his end-of-year paycheck, I think, John.
Yeah, he's certainly playing well for a veteran.
10 seconds left on the shot clock for the Tigers.
I think Whitehead has it in his hand, and I doubt whether he'll give it up unless it's a shot.
Whitehead shoots. Good defensive work from the Wildcats, but Tigers win it back. Gaze! Does it count?
Well,
no, it doesn't. It's 28-22 at quarter time, and the Tigers are not happy. Let's just wait on, I think.
Well, there was no signal from either official, and the Tigers bench assumed the bucket would count. They're conferring.
He's saying yes.
I actually thought it was after the buzzer.
I did too, and of course it's a matter of the sound versus the sight.
Well, we'll take a break and we'll give you the result. Yes, the Tigers have got the 2. So at quarter time at Flinders Park, it's Melbourne 30, Perth 22. Quarter time at Flinders Park, and it's the Tigers 30, Wildcats 22. Dean Templeton.
Lindsay Gaze just asking for a bigger defensive effort. He wants a little bit more help on those cutters. We've seen Crawford grab a dish and a big dunk off Grace, so he's concerned about that sort of play, but overall pretty happy.
Mike Ellis.
Adrian Hurley very concerned about the offensive rebounding of the Tigers, saying that they've got in there, and rightly so. I believe it's about 13 of their 30 points have come from offensive rebounds, so that's his biggest concern. He's asking for a much bigger effort from his team.
Yeah, they must block out, Stephen. The Tigers are the biggest club, physically the biggest club, and their lineup in particular gives them a great advantage over most clubs, and they're really asserting some authority on the offensive boards. Not only the rebounds they get, but they're keeping the ball alive. We've got a hand foul here, I suspect. Robbie Barnett called a hand foul on Sibley, I should imagine.
It's in fact on Dave Simmons, and he is in big, big trouble. So 4 personal fouls.
So it wasn't 5-2, it was 2-5 they've called it on. That's a big step, isn't it? 4 fouls so early in the second quarter. Of course, it's isolated. Gee, it was soft. By the same token, they've called it, haven't they?
This is a big concern for Melbourne. And as well as that, Simmons has turned the ball over 4 times too.
He's not had a happy start.
Has not.
I've got another hand foul here. Well,
John, interesting in the first quarter, Gaze, 15 points. He's averaging 28 points per game in the playoffs, 33 during the regular season, but he shot 77 in 2 games against the Wildcats.
He's been the nemesis for the Wildcats. He's been absolutely dynamite from range and also inside. And of course, he started off so well with 15 out of 30, half their points for Andrew Gaze.
That was sloppy from Gaze. Now a chance for Perth. They got the numbers. Fisher to Torrance. Big block from Bradkey, and the Wildcats mucked it up. They've still got a chance to redeem themselves. Grace can't make the three, and that is a lost opportunity for Perth.
Well, that's something they should have done better out there. Fisher thought he had the layup, but Bradkey intimidated both shots.
Simmons.
Dean, will be interesting to see whether Lindsay Gaze retains Simmons on the floor for much longer. 4 fouls.
Well, it's pretty gutsy to keep him out there at the moment. There's a bit of a war going on right now between Vlahov and Simmons. A lot of heavy stuff off the ball, and David Simmons won't take a backward step, but Lindsay must be careful he doesn't get that 5th foul.
Well, Vlahov can afford to be aggressive because he hasn't got a foul against his name, so...
Neither does he have a point at the moment, neither does Bradkey, and, you know, 2 of those boomer teammates you would expect to have a large part of this game, neither have scored.
Copeland for 3. And they are absolutely on fire from the three-point arc. They're 6 from 7, shooting at 86%. And another turnover against Perth. Good defensive work from Scott Fisher to win it back for the Wildcats.
They're being absolutely blitzed, aren't they, from the three-point line out there. 6 from 7, of course. Wildcats have yet to score from the three-point line. Well, this crowd's already into the game. 15,000 strong. They're calling every call the way they would like it called.
It's back out to 11 points of difference in favour of the Tigers. Some great work there from James Crawford. Fisher.
Shots are tentative, a little short, a little tightening out there from the Wildcats. On the other hand, the Tigers are running their half-court offence very, very well, and there's a lot of contact coming into the game.
Tell you now, that ball came off David Simmons' foot. He kicked that one out of court. Andrew Vlahov explaining that to Eddie Crouch. He won't change his mind. JC and Bradkey just going at it each other inside there.
Well, it's a good matchup all week. People have been expecting Vlahov and Bradkey to go at it. I think it's a very good matchup out there. There's Vlahov's first foul, is it, against Simmons? But I suspect we'll see a lot more of that physical contact, Dean, before the match is through.
Well, Andrew Vlahov's a smart player. He knows that Simmons in foul trouble. He's going to try and frustrate him and get right under his nose.
Going to look for the retaliation, isn't he?
Gaze to Copeland. Back to Gaze for 3. Well, this is an unbelievable display from Andrew Gaze. He's 5 from 5 at the three-point line. He's up to 18 points. Surely the Tigers can't keep this going.
Well, you wouldn't think they could, and I hark back to when in Game 2, when the Wildcats played Brisbane, they were 9 from 9 early, and they finished up, I think, something like 16 from 26. And they went a little bit cold, but by the same token, the Tigers, there's another foul called on Copeland. Is that his 3rd? So we've got 4 on Simmons and 3 on Copeland for the Tigers.
And Grace really is having the better of Copeland.
The penetrating ability he has, Stephen, is the thing that I think worries them most. I mean, I'm surprised that he's been able to go on that left hand with the dribble so often.
There is Grace. Gives the ball away. Now Copeland, but Wildcats get the numbers back. Now Gaze. To Simmons. Foul on Fisher.
Well, that was a professional foul, which says you are not getting an easy layup.
I don't think he was headed for the layup, actually.
No, I think Simmons was well expecting the contact.
And a timeout called by the Perth Wildcats, and it's the Tigers in front by 14 points, 36 to 22. Remaining in the second quarter here at Flinders Park. Dave Simmons at the foul line. Game 1 of the Grand Final Series. Hope you're enjoying the game wherever you're watching.
Well, that'll help Simmons because he hasn't had a happy start to it out there. He's only 50% from the field. He has 4 fouls and 4 turnovers, 3 rebounds to go with 4 points.
And the Tigers lead by 16 points. Mike Ellis, what did Adrian Hurley have to say?
Adrian's big message was the fact, and we've got another foul in there, but the fact was he believes the Wildcats are hurting themselves more than the Tigers. What's happening is they're just turning the ball over, and the reason they're doing that is they're standing still in offense. He said, start moving, don't stand there. They can play defense much too easy if you're standing. Get plenty of movement, and things will start to flow.
Dean Templeton.
I tell you, I don't think the Tigers are playing all that well. One man is number 10, Andrew Gaze. He's doing it all for him at the moment. Lindsay Gaze very concerned about that Ricky Grace. They're trying everything to stop him. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Are you surprised they've kept Simmons on, Dean?
Well, I was just talking to some of the staff of the Tigers quarters, and we've seen him in many games. He can play with fouls, but really, you know, it's 4 fouls and there's still 8.5 minutes to go second term. He's got to be very careful.
Particularly with his front line, because there's the second foul on Bradkey. Sibley has 2 and Simmons has 4. Copeland has 3. Gaze has 1 out of his first 5. There's a lot of fouls racked up out there.
12 team fouls against the Tigers' name, 7 against Perth. Love at the foul line. And he still hasn't scored a point in the game.
You know, that's remarkable, Andrew Vlahoff out there. In the playoffs, he's shooting 93% from the foul line against a season's average of 80. That's what playoff pressure can do to you. Got the second.
Vlahoff averaging 19 points per game in the playoffs this year. And that was his first point in the game. It's 38-23, Melbourne by 15. There's Copeland, Simmons.
Well, that's the advantage that the Wildcats have. When Copeland went down to post, Vlahoff left Simmons, and Simmons couldn't make the shot.
Great work from Bradkey. Gaze picks the ball off the floor. Oh, Torrance takes it out of his hand. But it will be a Tigers ball.
As he went out of court, he still had possession of the ball. 15,000 referees in this place didn't think that was the right call. Well,
great work from Bradkey, and Gaze scooped it up. Bradkey can't put in the 2 points.
Gee, they're not shooting well, Dean. I mean, if you take Andrew Gaze out of their lineup, they're really not shooting well at all, the Tigers.
They're not, and I think there's a bit of frustration creeping in with these big guys. Mark Bradkey there just remonstrating a little bit after Scott Fisher took it back up to him, and you're quite right. Gaze is keeping them in the game. It's a worry for the Tigers at the moment. They've got to get some other people involved.
And of course, that's Bradkey's 3rd foul, Stephen.
That's correct. They have got some foul worries, haven't they?
Well, they have so early in the game. I mean, we're barely halfway through the second quarter, and Dean has made mention of how people can play with a lot of fouls out there, and it looks to me as if the Tigers are going to have to play with those fouls, because Lindsay Gaze hasn't taken any of those particular players from the floor. And, of course, the officials can play such a big part. Wildcats still trailing. Scoreline 38-24 in favour of the Tigers.
So it's back to 13 points. Copeland brings the basketball back up the court for Melbourne. Weaves his way inside, gets his own rebound. Good work, Leonard Copeland. He's up to 9 points.
Little step around there. There was some call of walk, but he really had the pivot foot there before he released the ball. And Copeland starting to penetrate a little bit. See, their half-court offense is fairly stagnant, but they've got such good players out there. Be interesting to see. Field shots favouring the Tigers, 48 to 30%. I mean, 30% is just not good enough to win a ball game. The Wildcats have to do better.
Crawford under pressure. Rebound Bradkey. With Copeland, you sense that Grace has done a lot more than Copeland, but they're now matched on points at 9 apiece, so he's really fought back well. Alley-oop! Gaze to Copeland!
Well, so often we've seen that play ignite crowds here at the Tennis Centre. You wonder how clubs keep on getting caught with it, but to put it down to the eye contact, the athleticism and the timing of the Tigers between Gaze and Copeland.
Foul on Sibley.
What's that for Sibley? His 3rd. What's the alley-oop here? Little eye contact off the dribble, the long lead pass. It's high, it's long, and there's the man putting it in.
You won't see too many better passes or alley-oops than that one. From where I was sitting, all you could see was Leonard Copeland flying through the air. Sensational pass by Gaze through the traffic.
They do it so often, Dean. I mean, it's just too easy to say why can't opposition stop it, but they do it so often, it's not a fluke.
And I tell you what, it catches the opposition unawares, and it sometimes catches us unawares too.
Well, Michael Ellis, a few problems for the Wildcats down there. What do you think they can do to get back into this before half-time?
Well, they've got to keep taking the ball at the Tigers. At the moment, they're settling, even though that's a good jump shot by Scott Fisher, they're settling for the jump shot. Now, they've got the Tigers in foul trouble. You've got to make the most of it and keep taking it at them.
Their strength has been going inside all year. They've got to stay with it. Well, there's a marvellous display of skills as Andrew Gaze appeals to these 15,000 spectators to start to get behind his team. I mean, the guy took The ball on the defence, on the baseline, goes around a pick. Wildcats couldn't make the adjustment. Then he goes on the reverse side for the layup, puts it off the glass for 2, and he's got the bonus.
Well, I reckon I got the best seat in the house down here. I've seen 2 of the greatest plays you'll ever see. That was a sensational move by Gaze.
Strong on fundamentals and did it so well.
It's 44, I beg your pardon, 45-28. It's 17 points the difference.
There's another, no, I'm sorry, I thought it was a foul on Sibley, and I think the hearts of these 15,000 strong crowd was really up there in their throats as well. But it was a turnover as Torrance stepped on the end line.
Copeland with the ball. Turnovers 10 apiece.
Sibley with the ball. He'll hold it up and he'll look to get the easy pass. Simmons won't take the shot. This man will. No, he dishes again, and it's Simmons. It's a patented play, Steve.
Well, this is an awesome display from Andrew Gaze. Look at Andrew Gaze so far. 21 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds. And are the crowd loving this or what?
Yeah, he's done well. He's got 5 from 5 from the three-point line, shooting at 70% from the field. That's a masterful display. 21 points out of 47.
And the Tigers are out in front by 19 points. Grace, good pass to Catalini.
And a nice, smart move by the rookie. He withheld it there. He was out-muscled. That is the 4th foul for Bradkey. So we'll look, now there's an instant reaction from the Tigers bench. As you see on replay, how Catalini, with his ability to hop and hang in the air, withheld the ball. Bradkey sits down, Giddy comes in. Martin Catalini, a youngster, first year in the league.
Huge raps on this guy.
They believe he's got a good future, and he has learnt well. He's been a stalwart of the State Basketball League in WA, where he learnt his trade, but now he's stepped up into what is not a development league. This is the big time, and he's playing very well.
A stalwart at 19?
Yep, he's really been a cornerstone of the Coburn Cougars in the West.
Good work from Fisher, but Giddy still gets the ball. Now he turns it over. Grace. 5.5 left in the second quarter. Fisher. Nothing much Simmons could do. He could just stand there.
As soon as they gave Fisher the baseline, Simmons was in trouble. He couldn't afford to get anywhere near that possession.
John and Mike, I think you should check out the defence that the Wildcats are into. It looks like they've gone to some zone.
Yeah, they're a bit concerned to match up and get out because their half-court man defence hasn't been good. They're playing a 1-3-1 defence team where they really put a lot of pressure matching up with the man on the ball, create a diamond around it. You see Watterson go out and they'll form 2 wings out there, one with Catalina, one with Ricky Grace. Fisher will be back under the bucket.
Sibley.
Well, it's all too easy. What's that, 3-4 jams? Defence on the weak side for the Wildcats is falling down, 49-32, trailing by 17.
Watterson, clever pass to Crawford.
4.5 minutes to go before half-time. The Tigers doing it easily.
Gaze to Sibley, to Simmons. Copeland gets the ball. A bit of luck there for Melbourne. And Copeland makes it count.
The ultimate shot, wasn't it? Grace was right in his face, and he really gave that little extra arch. And it went in, 51 plays 34.
Robert Sibley sits down. And he's got 3 fouls next to his name. So this is definitely going to be a factor in the second half.
Oh, it must be out there. But Lindsay Gaze is taking this opportunity with this cushion to rest some of those players now. It'll be interesting to see if the Wildcats can take any advantage.
And at long, long last, the Wildcats drop a 3-pointer. That's their first 3-pointer from 7 shots.
Yeah, 1 from 7, 14%. Andrew Blahoff came up with that big 3. Persisting with the zone, the Wildcats. Whitehead loves zones. Not so good with that one. Again, Giddy got the ball. Just tried to dislodge it from Blahoff.
Crawford.
Nice fluent move. Good pass from Watterson. Let's see if Whitehead can do it the same sort of damage against this zone, because he certainly can shoot from range.
So it's back to 12 the difference. Tigers did lead a couple of minutes ago by 19. There's Copeland. Foul on Watterson.
Soft foul on the drive, on the cutter. Eric Watterson for the hand foul. That's the third foul for the Wildcats, so they won't go to the foul line.
And a timeout here at Flinders Park. 3.5 left in the second quarter, and it's the Tigers 51, the Wildcats 39. Back live, 3.5 left in the second quarter, and it's the Tigers 51, Wildcats 39. Whitehead for 2, and that was pretty easy. Mike Ellis.
Easy.
Adrian Hurley was a little bit concerned with just making a few adjustments in the defence down there to cover the outside shooting and probably try and stop that penetration. Great move by Fisher. But I would say that the Wildcats are still in reasonable shape here. The Tigers have started off magnificently. The Wildcats certainly far less than that.
Jeez, you've mozzed your mates.
Stephen, I got to tell you as well, that was a great shot because Blahov banged Copeland right on the elbow.
Blahov tries to respond, draws the foul on Whitehead.
And Copeland has shot so well from three-point range.
Lindsay Gay's quite obviously happy with the way the guys are going. A little refresher course in their zone offense, but I tend to have to agree with what Michael had to say. You know, the Tigers are really living and dying from outside in the perimeter at the moment. Those fouls really concern me.
If you look at Copeland, Stephen, he was 29% during the regular season from three-point range. He's 54% in the playoffs. That's really where he's got his impetus from. If you couple that with the outstanding display by Gaze out there, 5 from 5, that's where their lead has come from.
56-43, Melbourne lead by 13. There's the clock on your screen. Just over 2.5 minutes left in the second quarter. Whitehead.
Wildcats have abandoned that idea of a zone, though.
Yeah, I can understand why they would too. They were shot out of it, but there's some good hands in by JC. He's really getting to the game. Andrew Gay's in some sort of discomfort at the moment.
Yeah, he's made contact out there with Watterson both going from the ball. Let's see if we can pick it up for you here. Yeah, the Tigers are still in man-to-man. Copeland's on Fisher at the moment.
Fisher doing some good work for the Wildcats.
He withheld that again. Whitehead covered the first. Simmons couldn't come over and get too close and deny the second. Copeland trying to operate on Gaze.
Scott Fisher really keeping the Wildcats in at the last few minutes. Done an excellent job.
Andrew Gaze to Copeland. Copeland to Giddy. Giddy won't take the outside shot. That'll be Watterson's foul. Andrew Gaze looking for the splash cut from the top of the screen. Watterson wasn't prepared to allow it. What's that, 5? That'll send Andrew Gaze. That's a 15 foul for the Wildcats. Andrew Gaze to the foul line. From the foul line, the Tigers are 86%, Wildcats 78%. 6 from 7. This man on the line is 2 from 3 at the moment. Excellent foul shooter, Stephen. Think that we'll put the commentator's hex on him with this?
I know you're trying.
Well, you know, he's such a complete player.
Well, that's the one thing that has eluded him in his spectacular career, and that is an NBL title.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about that, a lot of sympathy racked up for Andrew Gaze, but it's the team that wins it, of course. That's a very important shot for Torrance and more important for the Wildcats. Torrance has stepped up in this playoff series. He's doubling his season's average, and it's mainly from range.
And now the margin is back to 10 points. Should make that 12.
That's a nice little shake and bait move. Dean took him to the left, came back to the right. Grace was in his face. Copeland up to 18 points.
A lot of individual stuff being done by the Tigers, and they really are hitting all their shots at the moment. Wildcats starting to go inside in a big way. Unlucky there, thought there was a foul.
Well, so did Blahov, but good recovery from Torrance. Good athleticism to get back. And there were 2, Copeland and Gaze were hunting down there. Well, Simmons, or has it come back the other way? 2-5. Simmons, that's got to be his 5th foul. Thank you very much. I would think you would have to predict the sub here, Stephen.
So one more foul, and Dave Simmons will take no further part in this game. And that is a huge blow for Melbourne. He's such an important player.
Well, he goes, sits down with 6 points. He's only got 3 rebounds out there. He's had 5 turnovers, and that's his 5th foul.
And one might suspect we won't see him back till perhaps the last quarter.
Well, it depends how the trend of the game goes.
Yeah.
It's a terrible risk, and of course it upsets the general balance of the team with a guy like Simmons that plays over 40 minutes and has been in the playoffs to sit down so early.
Melbourne lead by 11 points.
Nick Tenner on the floor. Whitehead, recipient of the pass, puts it off the window. It's another 2-pointer, only 38 seconds to go before half-time. And the Tigers lead 62-49 as there's a timeout called, Stephen, and I think the Wildcats might be just a little bit concerned to get closer before half-time.
Well, they've done reasonably well. They were down by 19 points. Got it back to 10. And Whitehead's done some damage, hasn't he? 9 points so far in the game, only averaging 4 in the playoffs.
Yeah, he has. He's shooting at 67% from the field. He's only 1 from 2 from 3-point range, but he's done well. As you can see in that last little combination, a little bit of pick and roll out there worked so well.
Someone gets the other man. We've got to have prevention rather than kill. So the work, curve it out the floor. The ball goes up the floor, but there's a crowd there as well. The base of what we've got to do a better job on the man with the ball on the perimeter, prevent the start of what we're doing. Otherwise, take the odds to the perimeter passes, then consolidate behind it. We get the ball, depends if they're late or early. If they go late with their offense and we get it, run the transition rules. We go down there, we can get an early shot. Otherwise, don't buy another foul for this half. Stay out of trouble. Let's go. Come on, Red.
Two generally layback coaches who are philosophically in tune with allowing their team to do the job. Both long-term servants of Australian basketball out there, and both fine Australian coaches.
We're still on your way a brand new Mitsubishi in the shootouts.
Interesting series out here now, Stephen. If you look at the coaches' tactics, you know, if you take 37.8 seconds out there, referees just about to recommence the ball. Wildcats with possession. Will they use all of this 37 seconds that they can use, or will they go early? Looks like they're prepared to try and get a better shot, which still should give the Tigers, unless they foul, last possession before half-time.
Here's Grace. 10-second warning buzzer on the shot clock. Grace weaves his way in. Shot falls short. And it will be. Eddie Crouch hasn't made up his mind yet.
He's conferring with Robbie Barnett, who's in direct line with the plane of the ball. Wise move. Obviously, Crouch from behind couldn't see it. Called upon Barnett, who had the best look at the call and made the call in favour of the Tigers.
So they'll have to be quick. Will it be Gaze who takes the shot? Kicks it. No, he travels.
It's a travel call. Frustration. Anxiety to get the shot up. 1.9 seconds remaining.
Here comes a Hail Mary. Grace quickly. Whitehead takes the ball from the backcourt. Hits the board. Wasn't a bad effort from back there. So, at half-time here at Flinders Park, it's the Melbourne Tigers leading the Perth Wildcats by 13 points at 62-49. Half-time at Flinders Park, and it's the Melbourne Tigers 62, leading Perth 49. And there is Another great Australian. We just saw a story on Andrew Gaze, and there's John Farnham, just released a new album.
Got a lot to sing about here tonight if he's a Tigers fan.
He certainly has. 13-point advantage to Melbourne, but as we said, they do have major foul problems. Dave Simmons has got 5 fouls, Mark Brackey 4 fouls.
And they're also starting out there with Simmons, so that'll be a very interesting first couple of minutes. I suspect the Wildcats might go right at him, and Andrew Vlahov, a guy who hasn't had much impact upon this game, he's certainly got to pick his rate up, hasn't he?
The Wildcats need quite a deal more from a number of their big-name players. Scott Fisher just about kept them in the game in the second quarter.
He sure did. 10 second quarter points. Grace went scoreless in the second quarter, and so did Crawford.
And what a big quarter Copeland had.
A huge 14-point quarter from Copeland.
Vlahov slaps it out.
My gee, the defense of the Tigers is intimidating the Wildcats. I suspect it's because they're a little terminal in their offense. They're going one out all the time, and that's allowing the help defense to get across.
Bradkey. This is what he perhaps should have made. Now Fisher.
Bradkey hasn't scored.
Race to Torrance, 3-point territory. Now Gaze, Sibley by himself, but Wildcats get players back. Gaze for 3, his first miss of the match.
Well, from that range, he's been absolutely perfect. And the Wildcats will be happy to see him miss that one. Vlahov goes on the baseline, no call. Tigers get the ball. Fairly messy start to the third quarter.
Excellent defensive work from Gaze.
If we look through some of the scores for the Tigers, Gaze has 23, Copeland 18, Simmons 6, Whitehead 9, Sibley 6.
Copeland takes on Grace. There should be a foul on Sibley, and it has been called.
Gee, that's another one on Sibley, makes his fourth foul. Well, it's not a good way to get it, but a good advantage has gone to the Wildcats, who have on their scoring list Crawford at 11, Catalini 2, Torrance 7, Grace 9, Vlahov 6, Fisher 14.
Grace. Crawford. Now another foul's been called. Who was it this time?
Well,
I reckon it could be Bradkey.
By the look of it, it's on 5-0. Mark Bradkey, that's his 5th foul. He joins Simmons. 5 apiece for 2 of the biggest in the front wall of the Tigers.
Well, Dean Templeton is getting almost a case of emergency stations for the Tigers.
Well, Lindsay Gay's last word to the guys is, look, just disregard your fouls, get out there and play. But that's easier said than done. I think Mike Ellis, you said earlier that the Wildcats are going to take it at these big guys, and I think they're going to continue to do so.
Well, they've certainly started this quarter off that way, and realistically that's what they have to do, and so far they're doing it very well as Bradkey and Vlahov really going at it down here low.
And Bradkey better be careful, he's fired up.
Yeah, it's a retaliation foul that he has to be careful of.
Torrance, misses an easy shot, and Mark Bradkey is absolutely furious, but he's just got to keep a level head, because if he fouls once more, he's out.
Well, he has no points to add at this point out there. He only has a couple of rebounds, and of course, the referees will have a big impact out there as Vlahov starts to agitate.
And Mike Ellis, Andrew Vlahov is throwing more than his fair share of weight around at the moment. He's trying to get these last fouls on Simmons and Bradkey anyway, how, isn't he?
Well, he certainly is, and the thing is, that's a big rebound by Bradkey again. The thing is, what happens is Bradkey's getting upset, and that's exactly what Vlahov wants him to do. If you lose your cool, you make a silly foul, and then he's out of the game, and that's what they want.
Simmons misses. Rebound Vlahov. Now Grace.
Very critical time of the game for the Wildcats. They want to get back in and even up the scores, and the Tigers need to consolidate and build on that half-time lead.
Grace for 3.
Good start for the Wildcats out there as Grace nails his first 3-pointer. Let's just check it for you. Looks like it is.
So 62-54. Here come the Wildcats. They're down by 8. They trailed by 19 in the second quarter. They were down by 13 at half-time.
Fairly static offense out there as Gaze pushes off, looks for the foul. Sibley takes the jump shot. Sibley has done well with his jumper tonight. Robert Sibley has 8 points, shooting at 57% from the field.
Fisher. Crawford.
Good rotation there as Fisher was double-teamed, dished the ball off to Crawford. Crawford comes up with his 13th point.
Gaze. Foul will be on Torrance.
On Torrance out there. Oh, gee, there's some pressure on the officials out there. There's no doubt with all of the experience. Gaze is leaning in there. Torrance is also retaliating. The officials have called it on Torrance. 2 team fouls to the Tigers, 1 to the Wildcats.
Copeland to Sibley. Oh, Sibley, spectacular. And he's got a very big job now, hasn't he, Robert Sibley?
Huge job with Simmons and Bradke in foul trouble, and he's doing it at the offensive end, his 10th point. Wildcats' offense is fairly static at the moment, not a lot of movement.
Crawford, will he take on Sibley? He does. Off the glass and in it drops for James Crawford. Sibley still looking for a foul.
Referees weren't buying anything of that, were they, Dean? You were in line.
Absolutely no foul there. That was good refereeing, no call.
66-58. Tigers by 8. Copeland can't shake Grace.
Oh, gee, without Copeland and Grace, the Tigers' offense also looks static.
Copeland ends up on the deck. Now Grace. Great pass to Vlahov. Bradke the rebound. Oh, Copeland's free. Grace gets back to Gaze. Easy 2 points for Andrew Gaze. Good work by the Tigers. Gaze up to 25.
25 points, 5 rebounds out there, 8 assists. Andrew Gaze keeping the Tigers in it. That'll be on Sibley for a holding foul. That's his 5th. So for the front wall, we can see if this replay for you as Gaze gets on the end of this fast break, loops it across the top.
That's a tech, guys. That's a technical on Copeland.
Yeah.
Well, that's just what the Tigers didn't want.
That's 4 for Copeland, 5 for Simmons, 5 for Bradke, and 5 for Sibley. It's huge, huge foul problems for the Tigers in front of 15,000 fans.
Dean, that was really ridiculous from Copeland, wasn't it? I mean, the calls there, you just got to shut up. They're in enough trouble as it is.
Well, you're right. It's easier said than done. You've got to put yourself in the player's position. Their anxiety and frustration level is very high. You can see that the Tigers are extremely frustrated. They're looking for a foul on every opportunity, and they're just not there. They're just going to get their act together and play the game.
Stephen, there's been a lot of contact allowed in the playoff series, and that's the way the game should be played. And I think that if you look at the foul totals for both, there's no doubt that there's a big imbalance against the Tigers. But these 3 officials are the best 3 officials in the land. Lindsay Gaze, hands in pocket, fairly pragmatic about the whole thing. But by gee, right now the foul count could be enormous in the result of this game.
Fisher's second shot misses, so it's 68-59. Tigers in front. Gaze coming down the court. Bradke, now Sibley. Vlahov throwing his weight around still. Copeland, shot was way off target, and it will be a Tigers ball.
Smart move by Andrew Vlahov. Sibley and Vlahov, they're going at it. There's no unfair advantage, and that's the way the game should be played within the paint. Vlahov just stood his ground there. Certainly hung the elbows out a little bit without any doubt. And Vlahov has 1 foul.
So he can call all the shots.
He can afford to be a little bit more of an agitator out there and try and get the retaliation from Simmons or Bradke.
Sibley, Copeland.
A good effort on defence. The 3-on-1 created by Ricky Grace's absolute reject. And then he almost was determined to step back as Bradke started to patrol the area in front of the keyway. 68 plays 61 within 7, almost halfway through the 3rd quarter. Tigers looking to reassert some authority that they had in quarter number 2.
Sibley. There's Gaze. Watterson snapping at his heels. Bradke has the ball stripped. Copeland to Simmons, runs into Vlahov and Fisher. And the foul's on Vlahov, and at last the crowd scream.
And Vlahov immediately indicates, yeah, it was me, so what? That's 2.
We're trying to protect our microphones at the moment because there's a lot of abuse coming from behind us. So if you hear a swear word, it's not from the commentators, I can assure you.
There's no doubt that this crowd is incensed at the foul count, but from where I'm sitting, it's been reasonable out there. And I think that'll come up against Watterson, and rightfully so. And that's his fourth, and that's a fairly important situation for the Wildcats to battle against because Torrance is rested out there. Torrance and Watterson have platooned Andrew Gaze and tried to maintain the pressure. 3 team fouls for the Wildcats, 4 for the Tigers.
Gaze, double team by Fisher and Watterson. There's Copeland, Bradkey, Simmons. Up goes the shot, and another foul.
Fisher, yeah, that's a good call by Crouch. As Simmons took that long looping dribble, went to the centre of the keyway. Fisher came over, had good position, couldn't resist putting his hand in. I think we've got a break.
There's time out here at Flinders Park. It's the Tigers by 7, 68 Perth 61. 5 minutes, 50 seconds left in the third quarter. Tigers 68, Wildcats 61. Dean Templeton.
Lindsay Gaze did not mention the fouls at all, surprisingly. All he spoke about was, guys, we're a little bit too stagnant in offence, which they are at the moment, and that's allowing the Wildcats to double team players such as Gaze and Copeland. So more movement needed down there by the Tigers.
Adrian Hurley did, funnily enough, mention those fouls, Dean. He was certainly saying, listen, we got 3 of them on 5 fouls. Keep taking the ball at them inside. Plenty of movement on offence, and we will slowly but surely win this game.
Gee, Sibley, you had to be careful there.
Gee, the defence is good from the Tigers out there. Whenever the Wildcats go one off on a dribble, they've got double team help all the time, and the Wildcats have been forced to dish that ball out and almost lose the handle on it.
Grace for 3. Very sweet from Ricky Grace.
Good sweep shot from beyond the 3-point range for Ricky Grace out there. Andrew Gaze now on the right hand. He'll go all the way. And the bucket will count, and the foul looks like it'll go on Blahoff. 2-1 for a hand foul. Well, it'll be interesting to look out there, but the foul count was 21-11 about 2 or 3 minutes to go. What is it now, Steve? It's about 21-15. See if we can pick it up for you on replay out there. Blahoff's moved in, even though they've called the hand foul. He's moved in across Andrew Gaze's path out there.
Leonard Copeland, not a point this quarter. Grace has shot 9.
He's gone quiet.
The war is back on an even keel.
It is too, when you consider that Grace went scoreless in quarter 2 and that Copeland scored 14. Well, it's a war of attrition, I guess, Steve, and that's the way it should be in a grand final series, and particularly in game 1 when you're on the road. You've got to give everything. See, they've not shot well under the bucket. You've got to give credit to the Tigers' defence in the paint.
5 Wildcats get back. Gaze. Simmons. Bradkey down the middle, and a pretty cheap foul on James Crawford.
Yeah, it was a hand foul. I suspect that if Crawford had had the courage to simply stand there, it could have been cut-arse for Bradkey. He was in a good position in front of the bucket, but he used his hands, and the officials will always penalise the hand foul. Watch this on replay out here. Little dish pass there. Crawford had a stood. Bradkey would have had to knife sideways.
Really pretty brave to stand in front of a bloke who's about, what, 17 and a half stone?
It's fairly,
18 stone?
Fairly easy from here.
No points in the game, believe it or not, for Mark Bradkey. He's averaging 21 points in the playoffs this year.
He has been a huge factor in the playoffs, hasn't he? It's taken some time for him to adjust to the Tigers' schedule and system of play and vice versa, but he's had such an enormous presence both offensively and defensively in the playoff series so far. For that to be his first points, that's amazing.
Torrance for 3. And now the Wildcats start to nail the big bombs.
67 for the Wildcats, as that was a 3. They're trailing by 6. The Tigers are 73, just under 5 minutes before three-quarter time.
Copeland to Simmons to Sibley.
Sibley's done well out there. That's 12 points. He's shooting at about 70% out there, shooting very, very well from range, and that's what he must do if the Tigers are to be successful.
Catalini back into the game for the Wildcats. There's Crawford. Pass to Grace. Pretty hard to shoot over Mark Bradkey when you're that size.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Nice strong movement out there, good pass, but Bradkey with that enormous frame, about 6'10", he sits down after that defensive effort.
Whitehead back on, and Vlahov also sits down. He's done a lot of hard work in the third quarter.
Two of the biggest men in Australian basketball sitting down, Boomer teammates, both 24-year-old.
Sibley. Copeland has not scored in this quarter. Simmons the rebound. Oh, clever pass to Gaze.
Yeah,
and
good vision.
Torrance is taking his turn to work at the human battering ram.
Third foul, Torrance. And once more, Andrew Gaze goes to the foul line. Good, excellent vision out here from Simmons. Well, what was Andrew Gaze? He was 23 at half-time. He's now up to 28, been a little bit quiet. He started with that magnificent first quarter with 15. And there, a very uncharacteristic miss. Andrew Gaze has been shooting 84% from the stripe in the playoffs.
76-67.
Tonight shooting at 75%.
Crawford. Simmons has got to be so careful. Sibley, clever work to tap it to Copeland. Pass to Gaze. Gaze lob to Copeland!
Well,
sensational play.
Eye contact started when Copeland got the ball low on the baseline and Gaze was out in the front of the transition, and once more the crowd's alive.
Desperation plus, and the foul will be on Copeland.
That's his fifth foul, reaching over the top. 5 fouls on Leonard Copeland as Watterson struggled to regain possession. Oh, gee, Stephen, that's 5 on Copeland, 5 on Simmons, 5 on Bradkey, 5 on Sibley. Andrew Gaze is the only one that hasn't got 5 or anywhere near it.
You have a look at, here's the alley-oop coming up.
Gee, he can hop, can't he?
Now, you just saw when that foul's on Copeland, a split second before the Wildcat player fell on top of the Tiger player. Yeah. No foul there, yet Copeland gets pinged for it.
I think it's the intent.
Yeah.
You know, the intent is the contact if it's incidental, but you know, the referees are going to make judgment calls. And right now, 15,000 people think they were wrong. Well, almost 3 minutes before three-quarter time. That's a 10-point lead. Been reduced slightly. 78 to the Tigers, 69 to the Wildcats. Chris Carroll on the court for the first time out there by virtue of that last foul and play phase. He's given the job of marking Andrew Gaze.
Sibley to Simmons, to Gaze. Oh, under pressure, gets the pass back out to Sibley. Sibley shoots off the glass.
Yeah,
good defensive work, from the Wildcats. Almost the turnover. Gaze.
Well done by Andrew Gaze. Never ever gave up. That's Watterson's 5th foul as well, I suspect. Great effort from Andrew Gaze. He can do it everywhere, Stephen, can't he? 29 points. He's got 5 rebounds out there. Boy, really tremendous endeavour. 9 assists. Kept it alive. Bit of inexperience there from the Wildcats. Catalini with the ball. Watterson not quite early enough to get to it. Ray Gordon on the line.
Right, we've all been saying how important this foul situation is, but you've got to say that guy there, number 10, Andrew Gaze, quarters, he's going to carry this team across the line if he has to pick every one of them up and take them individually.
Well, he has done it so well. Now, so often people talk about his scoring ability. He does a lot more than that.
And it's the Tigers by 11. Just over 2.5 left in the third quarter. 80-69 the score. Gordon snapping at the heels of Grace. Pressure's on. Double team Grace. Gets the pass away cleverly. Catalini's got the fumbles. Now to Fisher. Inner drops. Good work, Fisher.
Well, that's a courageous move by Simmons. There's a return favour from Carroll. So I guess it's 1-1 as far as endeavour and maybe a little lack of concentration from both clubs.
So it's back to 7 points. 4 valuable points there to the Wildcats. Gordon, he drives. Clever work from Ray Gordon, drawing the foul.
Foul will be called on Ricky Grace, I should imagine. Let's see if we can pick it up for you. No, it's on Fisher. That's his 4. Scott Fisher now has 4. Actually, the foul board's lighting up, Stephen.
Well, there was no doubt, and this is nothing against the referees because I think they're doing a fine job out there, guys, quite honestly. There was no doubt, though, that it was going to even itself out. That's just the law of averages. Mike Gallis down on your bench. any panic setting in down there. They've made some inroads, but Tigers are hanging on.
Well, I wouldn't say that there's actual panic here. There's a little bit of anxiety, I would say. But, you know, the fact is, as you said, the Wildcats aren't really making the inroads that you would imagine them to have done by this stage. But still, there's still a hell of a long way left in this game, isn't there?
2 golden opportunities missed by Gordon.
Stephen, we made mention earlier in this quarter how it was 22 to 11, the foul count against the Tigers. It's now 22 to 19. That's how it ebbs and flows.
And all of a sudden it's a 5-point ball game. So they've scored the last 6 points, the Wildcats, at a crucial moment in the game.
Wildcats appear to have gone to a zone out here. They've got a little 2-3 zone going at this stage. Matching up if they can to the point man as Andrew Gaze drives and floats sideways. Simmons gets a hand. There's anybody's hands out there. And it's called the Tigers' way. 1:21 before three-quarter time. 80 plays 75. Tigers up.
Sibley, he's got 5 fouls. Gordon for 3. You don't see that often, but they'll take him.
See it often enough. An 8-point lead. Just about 1 minute before three-quarter time out there. You can feel the emotion building. I think we're going to see a great fourth quarter.
Grace. It's a Wildcats ball. 1:01 left in the third quarter.
I suspect, Dean, we need a bit of emotion to lift this game. It's been a little bit staged so far, hasn't it? A little bit clinical.
And very flat, hasn't it? The crowd hasn't been involved at all. The emotion in this game is just going to lift the roof off this place at the moment. But look, the Wildcats are staying very patient. They're looking extremely professional out there, and they're just chipping away. All credit to Adrian Hurley and his boys at the moment.
6 points the difference in favour of the Tigers. Into the last minute. There's the clock on your screen. Gaze. Gordon. Whitehead loves the threes. Gordon, yeah, goes to Whitehead now. Sets himself for the 3. It's a Tigers ball.
Well, Fisher was just a little bit too intent on holding Sibley back. Claims he was held, but either way it won't make a fig of difference. And this, with 31 seconds, should give the Tigers one shot to take out this quarter.
So 83-77. It's 6 points the difference. A big play coming up.
Well, that's an interesting line out there, Dean, with Gaze and Whitehead, Simmons, Sibley and Gordon for the Tigers. You wouldn't have expected that at the start of the game.
Not at the start of the game, but of course we know now why they're out there, and they're doing a good job, those guys off the bench.
Yeah, often they can come on and really put things through. Boy, that's a long, long prayer. 4 minutes on the clock.
And Whitehead was free for the 3, but Gaze shot himself, so 4 seconds left on the clock. Wildcats still with time to score. Grace. Gives it to Vlahov, shoots on the buzzer for 3. Oh, would have been a valuable basket. So at three-quarter time at Flinders Park, what a last quarter we're set for. It's the Tigers 83, the Wildcats 77. Well, just watch this. Her name's Amy. And she's just won herself a car, I do believe. And now look at the Melbourne Tigers bench. This, I don't know if it's a concern or not. I don't know if I'm being stupid, but this girl was shooting for a car, and all the Tigers were watching the girl, not worrying about what's going on in the game. The Perth Wildcats were busy talking. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It shows they're relaxed, at least.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too laid back, but I guess the real answer will come in about 12 minutes' time, because if they lose, they may well rue their lack of concentration.
Fisher misses what he should have made. Now a chance for the Tigers. Lucky let off for Melbourne. Whitehead, will he go all the way? He does off the glass. Well, at least the crowd have found their voice and they're pumped up.
It was the biggest cheer of the evening. Boy, gee, I'd like to see a shot chart from the Wildcats, because they've missed so many shots in the paint.
85-77, and the crowd has found some emotion. Little Amy might have been a godsend for the Tigers. Dean Templeton, what have you got to report from three-quarter time?
Well, it's been pretty noisy down here all game, guys. Lindsay Gaze spoke to the guys briefly, probably took about a minute, wants that motion in offence, pick up the D, so on and so forth, and then the guy sat back and watched a girl win the car.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Dean, do you think?
Well, it's probably not ideal as we see Andrew Gaze fouled on the way to the hoop, but hey, there's nothing much you can do about it. She's out there winning the car. Mike Gallis, what's happening down your way?
Well, the Wildcats weren't watching the girl win the car. I thought she did a sensational job with that three-pointer from the top of the key there. all nothing but net. The Wildcats was certainly on task. The big message from Adrian Hurley was get the ball inside, keep working it inside. Now is the time to stick the foot on the accelerator and go for it.
Well, that was the 4th foul on Trevor Torrance, so the fouls are starting to just build up a little bit against the Wildcats as well, as Andrew Gaze brings up his 31st point.
87-79, Tigers by 8. Game 1 of the grand final series, remembering it's best of 3. Hope you're enjoying the action live in Perth, live in Melbourne. And don't forget, you can see a full replay of this game tomorrow on Basketball Extra. Vlahov underneath. Whitehead got a hand on it. Vlahov wins the ball back for the Wildcats. Grace under pressure. Back to Vlahov. Inside to Fisher.
Yeah. That's a smarter move. The last 3 or 4 times down the floor, the Wildcats have been pump faking, expecting and looking for the fouls. Fisher just took it up and put it in. I think they've missed so many point-blank shots that it's because they're expecting the foul to be called.
Whitehead a mile out for a bomb.
Yeah, that was a prayer. And look at the other end, Vlahov on the break, and he'll jam it.
Did his best to break the glass.
Just well, they snapped down rings. That's a 4-point lead with the Tigers now. 2 minutes have gone in the last quarter of game 1.
Sibley. Remembering 4 Tigers are on 5 fouls. Simmons, Sibley, Bradke, Copeland. Now Simmons double team. Sibley fouls on Grace.
Yeah. There's no way in the world that Grace could stop Sibley's move. Ricky Grace comes up with what is his 3rd foul?
15, Ricky Grace.
Yep.
2 team fouls already. Just barely 2 minutes expired in the last quarter, both against the Wildcats. Good start from the Tigers.
Well, this is the closest Perth have been for the whole game.
It is too, and you've got to keep in mind that right now we've got Bradke and Leonard Copeland both on the bench for the Tigers, and they're both impact players, although, mind you, Bradke has only scored 1 point.
88-83, Tigers by 5.
Ray Gordon with the job on Grace. Done a good job so far as well. Vlahov inside, Whitehead matched up against him. Crawford a long way from the hoop, dribbling the ball. Not the preferred option.
Torrance. 10-second warning buzzer on the shot clock. Grace. Good pass to Crawford. Fisher the rebound. Misses. Whitehead the rebound.
One more miss underneath. They're missing so many. Credit that to the tall timber and the real strength underneath of the Tigers' defence.
I just wonder, guys, about the fitness of Andrew Gaze. He looked very tired at 3/4 time. He hasn't had a break all game. And, you know, this game's going to be really close down to the wire. He's going to be a tired boy.
I suspect he's not going to get a break either unless he fouls out.
Gordon for 3 again.
Oh, yes, thank you. Ray Gordon.
Dean Templeton, are these bonus points or what?
Mate, well, Ray Gordon has played over 250 games. He could do it, but he spent a lot of his time sitting on his backside this year. Torrance, can he repeat it? Bang, he does as well.
Well, it's almost like a chess game right now, isn't it? Wildcats 86, the Tigers 91. 5 points the difference. Huge
Screen set by Sibley, and Torrance is feeling the pain. Up the other end, a foul on Crawford, and Trevor Torrance, we heard the thud of flesh on flesh where we were sitting. That was a huge screen.
See if you can feel this.
Bang!
Thank you very much, Sibley. And Sibley's just rocked with the flow.
Well, he's lucky he's still out there because he popped it right on the jaw.
Yeah,
and he is sitting down now as Trevor Torrance, and he looks very much worse for wear.
You wouldn't say he's sort of sprinting across to the bench right now. Andrew Gaze on the foul line. He does look a little weary out there, Dean, but by gee, he continues to use that right-hand dribble so well.
Yeah, he's going hard all the time, and he's very hard man to guard. We spoke about that at half-time. There's a lot of contact. Mike Gallis, that was a pretty heavy whack. How does Trevor Torrance look from where you are?
A little bit glazed in the eyes at the moment, Dean, but he'll be okay. I'd say it certainly rattled a few things in the head, but from where I was, and I had sort of a back view of it, it looked to me like Sibley really just lifted that right shoulder and dropped it in hard. So, you know, you probably had a better angle, but it looked fairly nasty from back here.
It looked pretty good to me. No, I think you may have been right. It was a close one.
Well, Fisher loses the handle on it. You know, Andrew Gaze, out of his 33 points, has made 10 from 12 from the foul line at 83%. That's a very big stat. Whenever the guy goes to the foul line as often as he does, particularly in this game. It makes a lot of difference to the defence.
8 minutes left in the game, and it's the Tigers by 7. Fisher.
Once more, Fisher denied a point-blank range shot by double-teaming through Whitehead and Simmons.
Lahov, still no foul call. Great work by the Wildcats. Grace now. Simmons, that's
he was just trying to get it through the other way. Just a little mistake. The Wildcats bench are up. This game is building, Dean. I think the contact's going to be a lot tougher.
Well, it's quite obvious that the referees are going to make, these guys' 6th foul. It's going to have to be a very hard foul because the contact under there is unbelievable. Steve Whitehead is really surprised Scott Fisher. He's the tall kid. He's 6'6". He's getting a hand to some of Fisher's shots.
Yes, it is intimidating, as Fisher wouldn't expect. And lo and behold, Dean, the foul count is 22 apiece.
Yeah, I would have liked to have been able to back that.
10-second warning buzzer. Whitehead shot's ordinary, but put it down as an assist.
Yeah, well, he'll like to have that stat rather than the shot. But that is the real strength of Andrew Gaze. You cannot leave him alone. You've got to make sure you block him out all the time.
Is that an alley-oop, Quarters? How do you call that one, mate?
Lucky.
Either way, it's a 95 scoreline to 88. 7 points the lead to the Tigers. 7 points to go in game 1.
Race. Fisher. Simmons is there. Simmons steps out of the way. Fouls on Gaze. The 2 points to Crawford count. He'll go to the line for an extra shot. And you've got to give credit to Simmons and Sidley. Simmons has been on the court since half-time with 5 fouls.
And Ray Gordon sits down to a great ovation from this crowd who have appreciated what's been one of his high-scoring performances for the season. 8 points out there and done a very good defensive job on Ricky Grace. But more importantly, for the Tigers, Bradkey comes back in.
And it's back to 4 points, 95-91.
Well, critical time. Dean, I don't know whether I'm looking at it the right way, but I think a spark is going to ignite this ball game right here, and it may be a physical spark.
You may well be right. Well, there's the first field goal for Mark Bradkey, and that has been a long time coming. You just don't know which way this game's going to get. It's really a matter of the Tigers are hanging on by the last straw. I still get the impression that the Wildcats are just, coming down the back straight. They've pulled out and they're looking pretty good. Mike Ellis, do you get that feeling as well?
I do. They're just sort of hanging in by the skin of their teeth at the moment. They're starting to make the moves. There's some inspirational stuff by the Tigers, and really that's the only thing that's keeping them ahead at this stage, and you really wonder how long they can keep doing that for.
Well, they are a team that plays on emotion.
Well, they always have been, and if they can't play on emotion on this court in front of this crowd, they can't play anywhere on emotion, so you've got to expect that to happen. The Wildcats have been a little bit lacklustre. I'm just a little disappointed at their conversion rate underneath the bucket out there, but you've got to give credit to the defence.
Carroll for 3. Oh, big basket from Carroll.
That is a huge bucket from Chris Carroll. Hasn't seen a lot of minutes in this match. Hasn't seen a lot of minutes throughout the year. Can play. He's matched up with Whitehead. That's a very good matchup out there.
Bradkey. Tipped it in. No, still won't go in. Simmons. He puts it in.
That's a huge move. He started on this side of the bucket, went through with a little jump hook on the reverse side. Very professional move.
So can Perth reply again? Fisher runs into a wall of 3 Tigers.
And Fisher's looking for the foul instead of putting the shot in.
So's Adrian Hurley.
He is, and the bench is not happy, Michael. How are they reacting to this pressure as this game winds down?
Well, Eddie Crouch walked by, and a few people on the bench just asked him what they really thought of that foul. I don't know, Bradkey was a little lucky, I would say, from here.
Great block from Crawford. Now a chance. Carroll for 2.
Nice conversion on the fast break. Carroll can play this game. Needs a spark out there. Vlahoff on the bench. Shouldn't be too long before he comes back in, Michael, do you think?
Tell you, down on the Tigers bench, Copeland's getting ready to come in, so it really is money time down there.
Yeah, I think it's all or nothing now. We've got 5:20 before the end of this game. 4-point lead to the Tigers.
Whitehead.
Good foul on Carroll, I think. Good move inside from Whitehead out there. Stephen, Whitehead can post up as well. He doesn't score a lot of points from within inside the paint, but he's got a good opportunity out there to play.
Timeout called by the Perth Wildcats as the Tigers in front, but only just. It's 100-96. minutes and 14 seconds left in this game. Being watched by many special guests. And it's 196, Dean Templeton.
This is just a fabulous game, isn't it? I mean, it's got everything, and the Tigers are just hanging in there. Lindsay Gaze, same things again, guys. Motion in offense. Keep doing what you're doing on the defensive boards. Just work so hard. And he's just hoping like anything that they don't pick up their 6 fouls, these big guys.
Mike Ellis.
Adrian Hurley was stressing the fact that they want to keep going at the ball, at the offense, keep going at them, but also spread it out a bit more. They're all sort of coming in too close and making it very easy for the Tigers to rotate on defense. So he wants to spread out, and that's exactly what happens when they do just that. Grace gets a great drive to the basket.
Yeah, that's a good spread play, and it stops the double teaming. And the foul count, Stephen, could have a big impact on this game because the Wildcats have 5 team fouls to 1 of the Tigers. So every foul that the Wildcats incur will send the Tigers to the foul line to take shots.
On the fast break, Fisher still can't buy a basket. Now he should put it in, he does.
And even that wobble.
So it's 2 points the difference, 102 to 100.
Fisher on Simmons. Simmons given up, gone to set the post, and the pick as Whitehead goes on the baseline. Catalini rejects it. Lux of fortune as Copeland takes it from range. It doesn't like what it sees, and it's on the scrap again. Andrew Gaze, will he go all the way? That's offense. Oh, well, it's on Catalini for the hand foul. By G. Lux of fortune, Dean. Either way, you'd have to say that Fisher had the spot. Barnett's pinged Catalini with the hand foul from the side.
Well, it's very hard for me to see. I am up the other end of the floor, but the pressure out there is on everyone, referees, players and commentators as well.
Substitution. Crawford in. Grace out. Not for long, I would suggest.
I think that...
No, it's in fact Catalini sitting down.
Yeah, Catalini's played that little cameo role where he's given people a rest. We might have to go across to Mike Ellis in a minute. It looks like Ricky Grace might have a bit of claret over the eyebrow out there. James Bryder looking to stem the flow of blood by the sound of it, or by the look of it.
Yeah, John, definitely. Ricky Grace has got a cut over his right eye. It's a fair amount of blood coming through it. What they're hoping to do is stop it and tape it up while this free throw's on.
Well, of course, the blood rule in the NBL will say that if the blood is free-flowing, then Grace will have to be subbed out.
Tigers by 4 points. There's Grace with the ball. Oh, sensational, Ricky Grace.
I'd suggest somebody shouldn't smack him over the other eye.
2-point ball game again. Wildcats have never been in front.
Little conversion play here. Look for the screen with Copeland at the top. Grace trying to get to him. Copeland floats. Bradkey tried to put it back. Tigers will get another look. Wildcats bench incensed. Michael, you were fairly close to that.
Well, from where I was sitting, that really looked like Bradkey followed through and the ball bounced off his chest. But I've got to be honest here with the ref. It was very difficult for him to see. Billy got cleaned up in it all.
Excellent call. It was off the hand of Fisher.
There you go, Stephen. You've got him. And, of course, Mildenhall owned up to not knowing, so the call came from the side. Ricky Grace has been subbed because of the flow of blood.
And a timeout called by the Perth Wildcats. 3:50 left in the game. The Tigers lead by 2. 3 minutes 50 seconds left, and it's the Tigers by 2, 104-102. Mike Ellis.
Yes, Ricky Grace doing his John McEnroe of old impersonation. He looks like he's got a headband on here. That gash above his eye is about 1 inch long. He'll definitely need stitches after the game, but the medicos have got him patched up because he does not want to be off the court for very much longer.
Chance for the Wildcats to level it up.
Shots off balance by Crawford as Gaze is on the hop. Copeland gets the recipient of the pass, and the trailer in Whitehead gives the Tigers, could be a 4-point lead, is it? Yeah, 4-point lead, 106-102.
And Ricky Grace is back on.
Well, it's all for the taking right now.
Pressure with a capital P. Grace runs into Bradkey. It's a turnover.
Well, turnover to Ricky Grace. Bradke made some strong contact. I think it was incidentally. Didn't move, didn't come sideways either way. It doesn't matter. 4-point lead to the Tigers just over 3 minutes before this game winds down.
Gaze to Copeland. Whitehead's there in 3-point territory.
Lahoff on Whitehead. Simmons.
Forces his way closer. Another big basket for the Tigers, and they're out by 6.
Huge bucket by Simmons. Keep in mind, Simmons had 5 fouls at half-time. He's played the second half of this game protecting that 1 foul cushion.
Crawford misses. Vlahov. Oh, it's on Bradke, and he's out of the game.
Bradke, well, by gee, after all the contact we've seen, Dean, you'd have to say that was the softest of any.
Spot on comment, John. I was just thinking that myself. If anything, yeah, Bradke was the innocent party in that one. However, I think he's been pretty lucky to have been able to stay out there as long as he possibly could. And I think he would be very wise if he just went off quietly.
He was still staying there for a while, Steve. He wasn't happy with the call. He sits down. Sibley comes back. By gee, the Tigers have done it well protecting that bad foul line against them. Still, 2:33, 108 to 104. Anything could happen here. A lot on this foul shot. Never looked like making it.
Perth ball, though, more importantly. And they're down by 4. Vlahov thought about the 3. Now Grace with the bandage round the head. Defence screams the crowd. Vlahov. Carroll underneath. Excellent pass from Vlahov. 2 points the difference.
Carroll has 9 points for the match so far. Shooting very well. Actually perfect. 100%.
Guys, sorry, Dean. Very quick comment. The timeout situation. Tigers have 3 left. Perth have 1 left.
Fouls on Carroll for holding. Andrew Gaze.
Send Andrew Gaze to the foul line, of course. 2-point cushion could come out to a 4-point situation. And Dean, I didn't quite pick that. Wildcats have 1 left.
Yeah, Wildcats just have the 1 timeout left, and the Tigers still have 3 up their sleeve.
Of course, Stephen, the Wildcats took that last timeout as a strategic timeout to make sure Gaze could get that blood stemmed, so they really didn't want to use that, but that gives an advantage to the Tigers. Home court. 13 from 15 from the strike. Andrew Gaze, 38 points. 39.
And again, it's a 4-point ball game. Tigers have led from the start of the game. Less than 2 minutes remaining. Vlahov.
Well, we've got a call, and it's offensive against Vlahov. Simmons, after protecting that 5-foul situation at half-time, still is there. And, of course, we will see him walk that long 90-odd feet walk to the other foul line where he'll have a one-on-one attempt.
And look at Adrian Hurley. He got off the bench and started questioning the journalist, saying, what do you think? The journalist is shaking her head.
Well, I don't know. I think that's about this. I can't remember. Is that the first offensive foul? Certainly no more than 2 or 3 for the match, if any. I think it's the first offensive foul I can remember.
Right.
Oh, nominated it off the window. Does it all the time, Dean, doesn't it? Absolutely off the window.
When I play in the backyard, you've got to call those. You've got to tell people you're going to make those. Anyway, there's nowhere on the score sheet that says how. It just says how many.
Almost did it again. And more importantly, they've got a second chance. Well done, Whitehead.
Very clever. Gaze for 3, no.
Smart move by Gaze. Didn't want to take the shot early. 24 seconds left on the shot clock. Only 1.5 minutes remaining in the game.
Well, they're getting a little bit of luck at an important time, aren't they, the Tigers?
Well, we've heard both coaches say in interviews today that that's what would win this game. A little bounce here, a call there.
Gaze takes on Carroll for 3. Gaze, no. Rebound Vlahov. Chance for Perth. They're down by 5. Grace. Under pressure. Shoots. No. Gives it to Crawford. Fisher. Oh, misses a sitter. Grace stripped to the ball, and Scott Fisher. That might cost the Wildcats. Dunk time. Copeland.
There's a statement. 15,000 people agree with it. Sends them out to a handy little cushion out there. We've got a foul called on Sibley.
And Sibley's out of the game.
Yeah, and Sibley's giving Carroll a fair sort of trashing right now. There's a lot of talk going on between the two of them. 113 to 106, Steve.
Well, John, that miss by Fisher, it was an easy bucket by his standards, and it could prove very, very costly.
It was easy by anybody's standard, and as I made mention earlier, if you look at the shot chart after this game, Scott Fisher will be really wondering just what he has to do to get a bucket underneath there, because he's missed what he should have made.
Timeout called by the Melbourne Tigers. They lead 113 to 106. So it could have been, well, if Fisher had made that, it would have made it 111-108.
Yep, it's a 4-point turnaround.
Yep.
There's 2 he could have got, and 2 at the other end, just maybe the Wildcats could have prevented. That's a very, very important miss.
Let's try and listen in on Adrian Hurley if we can. Here's the miss from Fisher. Gee, it was just a basic 2-pointer, wasn't it?
It's a simple thing that you teach him at a very young age. Put it off the glass, make sure you jump up and occupy the space. But the guy's been an MVP so often, an all-star so often, he's not having a good game from within inside the paint.
And he's still got 23 points, has Fisher.
Yeah, 23 points, and he has 15 rebounds to go with those. He's had a reasonable game. He's been averaging 23, just that in the playoffs, and 24 in the regular season, so he's done his job. I reckon he could have put another 10 points up on that.
Oh, steal by Whitehead. Oh, foul on Fisher.
Will it be intentional? No.
Well, some just basic crucial mistakes by the Wildcats at the death, isn't it?
Well, you know, again, you've got to get the ball inbounds. You know, you can talk about inbound plays and goodness knows what. Some are meant to score, some are meant to get the ball inbounds. That's a fundamental error by the captain, Andrew Vlahoff, and didn't execute well. At the other hand, of course, that's 2 more points the Wildcats could have got. They didn't. And at the other end, Whitehead has a chance to put another nail in.
Gee, had to be close and intentional too, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, Whitehead misses the crucial bucket, so it's still a chance for Perth. They're still alive. Grace, Vlahoff, Crawford for 2. And it drops.
It's a good 2, but it's an even more important 2 for the Tigers because they've got possession and the Wildcats are going to have to foul.
And I reckon this last 40 seconds could take about 4 minutes.
Yeah, well, the Tigers still have 1 foul to give as well, mind you, so they can foul to make more time go off the clock.
So, the pressure situation, Tigers go to the foul line. It's Copeland. Is he up to it? Look at the fouls this quarter. 3 to the Tigers and 10 to Perth.
Well, it's certainly swung around. Foul counts 29 to 25 the other way.
That's an important point. 115 to 108, so it's 7 in the difference. Grace. Under pressure, double team by Copeland and Whitehead. Gets the pass to Vlahoff, a big bomb, makes it!
27 seconds, 111, trailing 115. We've got a 4-point ball game, folks.
Copeland gets past 3 Wildcats, Simmons.
Yeah, they'll run the clock down here. Wildcats will have to foul, and they've fouled the wrong man. Andrew Gaze will go to the foul line. He's 14 from 16, 88%.
Gee, what a big 3 from Vlahoff.
Huge 3, both in distance and pressure.
So Gaze at the foul line. He's only missed 2 tonight.
Bit of icing there. Still a long time to go, but I suspect not long enough. Tigers have done it well. Come back from a very, very strong imbalance and played to their strengths.
So it's out to 6 points. Grace, Carroll for 3. No. Vlahov for 2. And that is the game. The Tigers have won game 1 of the grand final series.
How do you feel, first of all? You must be pretty tired.
Oh yeah, it was an exhausting game. You know, they just kept coming at us, and going down in the fourth quarter, it was really coming down to the wire. But you know, we got a couple of lucky plays, and like we said right from the start, you know, it just can be a bit of luck. It turns the game, and definitely tonight that's what it was. We got the bounce and went our way.
Now, early in the game, of course, you had the big guys in foul trouble, but they hung in there. Gee, you must have been worried.
Yeah, very nervous at half-time. You know, 13-point lead. But with the way the situation was, with our guys in foul trouble, it wasn't really a legitimate 13-point lead. So we really had to try and nurse them along. We were tempted to go into the zone, but our zone defence is that bad, we didn't want to gamble with that. So, you know, we just fought it out, tried to play smart, and I think in the end it was the right policy.
Now, it's a great crowd, and it's terrific to win at home, and you've done exceptionally well. You're 1 up, but now you've got to go across to the other side of the country.
That's the thing, I suppose, it's the beauty of the best of 3 for Perth. You know, it's going to be a difficult challenge there. Odds are probably slightly against us now, but you know, I think that we've built enough confidence by winning this game to know that we can capable of competing with them and perhaps beating them.
All right, guys. Well done, Drewy. Good luck over there. We'll see you soon, fellas.
Yeah, I think they're a fair bet at this stage, but we shouldn't second guess it too much, should we? Let's have a look at the stats for this one firstly, and the top scorers. 117 to 113. The Wildcats, well, they tried, right down to the last second, Steve.
Well, that's right. They're a championship team. That's why they're in the finals, and they're not going to give up. And I'm sure they're going to be a very difficult opponent to beat. It evened up the stats. They're 50% to 47 from the field. And the Tigers kind of cooled off from the free throw line, just ended up with 72% from the line. Perth Wildcats with 75. 3-point percentage, boy, the Tigers are always going to be tough out there because they take good shot selection from out there and don't shoot too many under pressure. Rebounds went to the Perth Wildcats. I'm sure that's a concern for Lindsay Gaze, and the turnovers were relatively down for such a game that was so physical and so hard fought.
Top scorers, Andrew Gaze, of course, with 41. Copeland there. Very significant contribution. Bradkey didn't get on the sheet, but as I said before, I thought he contributed fairly well in a lot of areas today.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, that's just a tremendous performance from the Tigers. Anytime Andrew Gaze gets 41, you've got a pretty good chance of winning. But the other guys contributed in just about every other area. The Wildcats, Scott Fisher, I'm sure he wanted to have 25 points. That layup he missed was very crucial.
Oh, yeah.
Ricky Grace was tough as usual, and he's going to be a big factor in game 2. And the other guys, I mean, they played a good game. They just got beat by an outfit that was just a little bit better than him on the night.